Alrighty, welcome or welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Abby. My content is mainly about military life, lifestyle, and motherhood. Alright, let's go ahead and get right into it. Today I'm going to share my experience at MEPS. So if you didn't know, I recently enlisted into the army, into the military, specifically the army. Go army! I wanted to share my experience at MEPS. Alright, so going into MEPS, I went there from overnight. So I went to my recruiting station at around 2 p.m. I sat there, I spoke with my recruiter. I spoke with, I believe it's the commander of the recruiting station. Went over what to expect there. They warned me about the duck walk and the basic balancing. If not the duck walk, then they showed me this other balancing technique that I would have to do. They warned me about like the inspection, the fact that you're going to have to be in just underwear, and then at a certain point you're going to take off the underwear and be just like the day you were born. So they were pre-warning me about everything and what to expect. Sat there, my recruiting station is awesome. Shout out to my recruiter, Sergeant Gonzalez. He is the best. That's here in Coppers Cove. I'm currently in Texas, in Coppers Cove, Texas to be specific. So if you're looking to sign up, I would definitely 100% recommend Sergeant Gonzalez. The whole recruiting office on a whole, they're super awesome, but my specific recruiter was Sergeant Gonzalez. All right, back into the nick of it. So I went there from the day before. I went to the recruiting station the day before. I was actually supposed to go to the MEPS building because I needed to sleep by the hotel overnight so that I would make it to MEPS in time. So I went by the recruiting station, waited a bit for the bus, got onto the bus, stopped by the different recruiting stations and picked up other applicants, I should say. It was a good drive. It was like a 3-hour drive to the MEPS that I went to, or to the hotel that's close to the MEPS that I went to. The only thing I would change about that whole little scenario is the fact that the bus driver, whenever he just let us off, he was like, "Oh, you've all been here before, so you know what to do." Everybody in the bus was there before, but I've never been there before. So I was left like, oh, where do I go? And in situations like this, I do get a little socially awkward. So I was just standing there, and then I just decided to follow the other applicants. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just following them. So we went into this briefing room where they played a little video. Then you had to show your ID and what else? I believe it's just your ID that you had to show them to check in, and they gave you your room key and then informed you of like when is dinner and what time you'd have your nighttime briefing, and also the curfew. The only thing I would change about this whole experience, or what I believe they should tighten up a bit on, is the fact that I get that a lot of persons have visited MEPS before, continuously. Like I spoke with 2 different persons. I saw someone on the elevator and they were like, "Oh, this is my 5th time at MEPS." And there was this other girl and she was telling me that this is her 3rd time here. So they assume that everyone knows what to do, and I was just going with the vibe. I was going with the vibe because I had no idea where it should be. Even with the wake up time, they didn't tell me. Like, I heard it from other applicants what time I was supposed to be downstairs. I just knew that they would call the room whenever we needed to get on the bus. So anyways, back to the original story. So gave me the room key, told me about dinner, and then the curfew and the briefing that we would have to go to. Went upstairs, got dinner, and by the time I did all of that, it was time for By the time I did all of that, it was time for the briefing. The briefing, it was fun. I don't know what he is. the liaison that was there, he was pretty nice but stern at the same time. So, you know, they explained no party, no inviting anyone to your rooms, yada yada yada, and then told us about remember to come down for wake up time, but they didn't actually specify, like I said, the time that we needed to be there. I heard from other applicants. I went to bed because at that time it was like, by the time the briefing was done, it was like a couple minutes after 9. So I was playing a game with some of the applicants, but I decided to leave and go to bed because I knew that I hadn't gotten much sleep from the previous night before, and I didn't want to run the risk of being late the following morning. Went upstairs. For female applicants, that's one thing that my recruiter did tell me about. He told me that typically for female applicants, because you don't have a lot of female applicants, you don't typically share rooms in the hotel. But if you do receive a roommate, don't be alarmed. But for me, in this situation, it was probably less than, like, out of 100 people that were there, probably 10 of us were females. So I didn't end up getting a roommate for MEPS. So I went to my room, I slept. I was almost late. I was almost late. Like my alarm went off and I didn't allocate in enough time to take a shower. So I was just rushing through my shower, rushing through, you know, personal hygiene stuff. Whenever I was getting ready, they made a phone call to the room and I was like, oh my God, I hope the bus doesn't leave me. But luckily they were just calling ahead of time for like breakfast and to hand in your room key. But like I said, at that time I didn't know. So I was rushing and just throwing everything back into my bag, and I thought I had put back everything into my bag. Unfortunately, I didn't realize, just moving forward a bit quickly, unfortunately, I didn't realize until it was too late that I had left my Apple Watch at the hotel, and the bus, because I was only there for one day, I couldn't go back to the hotel to get my watch. So currently recording this video, my recruiter is going to try and get it back for me, but currently I have no idea where my Apple Watch is. But yeah, backtracking now, I was rushing, putting everything into my bag. Whenever I went downstairs, they had us line up, give in our room key, and then showed our identification. I guess that's how they keep a track, I'm not quite sure. We had breakfast, then we went to another briefing. In that briefing, they basically told us a little of what to expect in terms of, you know, you need to listen, don't be rude, because if they kick you out, you have to come and do this whole process again, yada yada yada. In the end, he did ask for a few volunteers to like say which branch they're going to, where they're from, and it was a good experience to see where everybody is like, it was a good exercise to see where everyone is actually going to be, and knowing, you know, how soon are they leaving too. All right, so into the thick of it, the actual about to leave for MEPS. The briefing was done, it was time to get on the bus. They are so stern and strict. We had to line up. It was like, you know, whenever you're watching like those jail experience, like a series where you know, you have the inmates line up and they need to follow a straight line and be quickly and everything. That was exactly it. So we had to line up and get on the bus, and you're here, move, 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 move. You get what I'm saying? It was just rush, 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 and you need to stay in order. It was like, it was kind of intimidating, but it was quite, looking back at it now, it was a fun experience. And the bus low-key looked like one of those jailhouse buses too. The bus ride was like maybe 30 minutes, right, to MEPS. At this time, it's like 4 in the morning. So breakfast was like, it was 4 in the morning, about to be 5 o'clock. So it's still dark outside and everything. We got off the bus. We had to line up in a straight line, 2 lines for those who were about to leave, and then those who were just coming in now to do the first initial MEPS. You had to be walking quickly. They're just barking. At this point, they're just barking out the instructions like, take off your belt, put the phones in the bag, and if they catch you with anything, that's it, you're out, come back another day. It was like super intimidating. And then oh, that's another thing that they were warning us about at the hotel. They were like, if you have weapons, you need to leave it here or tell them before you get in and they catch you with it, because if they catch you with it, or like, oh, you didn't remember it or whatever, then they're going to send you back out. So that was another thing that they were, while we were lined up before we could enter the building, they were like, any weapons, pepper spray, pepper spray, knives, all this and all that. But then I heard a man say, if you have a rat tail comb, that's considered as a weapon too. I'm a black girl. I have a rat tail comb in my bag to do my little edges and all of this. So I was like, rat tail. Whenever I heard him say rat tail comb, I checked my bag immediately because I was wondering if I brought it. And I saw the rat tail comb and I was like, sir, my voice, because I'm a bit intimidated, so my voice was really low, and he just kept on moving on, talking to whoever. But I knew if I didn't say anything, and then whenever I went through the detectors and they saw it, then it would have been trouble, or me having to come back another day, which that I completely wanted to avoid. So I had to speak up. I was like, sir, did you say rat tail comb? He was like, yeah, rat tail combs are a weapon. So I was like, I have a rat tail comb. He was like, does it have a metal tip? I'm like, no, it's all plastic. So he said, okay, you're fine. But for a minute, like, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, rat tail comb? What am I going to do with a rat tail comb? So they were done asking if we have any weapons and us taking off the belts and all of that. It's time to actually go in and go through the metal detector and put your bag through the scanner. Did all of that. Once again, just expect them to be, I want to say, stern, rough, and needing you to move. So as long as you're doing all of that, then following the instructions and having your head on your shoulders, then you'll be fine. Just ignore them being stern and a bit rough. That's just the procedure. We got in and we had to head to the army. Each inside the MEPS building, they have a liaison for each of the military branches. So I had to head towards the army liaison. They gave me instructions on what to do in terms of, we're going to the actual medical aspect of it before we would come back to them, where that's where you sign your contract. So I'm getting into the medical aspect of it. They give you a name tag, and there's like a chart on the bottom right hand side of the chart that they use they mark it whenever you pass or fail, like your eyesight, vision, hearing, height and weight, blood work, and urine. I believe those were the 5 that they tested for. So based on the mark that they put on it, you kind of eventually pick up on whether or not you've passed each aspect. So for me, the first thing that I did whenever I got there is that I did a vision, where they ask you to read, it's a basic vision test really, where they ask you to read the smallest line of whatever you can see. I went through that, passed it. Next test was the hearing test. Oh my god, the hearing test, I was so scared if I failed it, because I was not sure. Because they were like, if you think you hear something, just press it. When I say it's so low and so subtle, and honestly, I thought I was hearing the other person's like headphones, because it's so low and so subtle. You might think that you're hearing someone else earphones, but that's not it. So my advice to anyone going in, if you hear just a peep or something so low that you're wondering if you imagined it, hit that thing that they gave to you, because that's what I did, and I ended up passing. But that hearing test is super freaking hard, because you're not sure if you're hearing what you're hearing, or if you're imagining things, or if you're hearing the person next to you audio. So my advice, once you hear something, even if you're not sure, hit the clicky thing. I don't know what's it called. Hit the thing. You'll know what I'm talking about whenever you go there. Then next for me was height and weight. Coming in, I am on the heavier side. I'm not fat, but I'm not skinny either. So that was something that was I've been always monitoring my weight, because since I've had a baby, I haven't gone back to my pre-pregnancy weight. I'm not fat, but I haven't. Before pregnancy, I was like 130 pounds. Now, after the pregnancy, I'm 160. And for my height, the maximum weight is 161. So you see what I'm talking about? I'm like right on the borderline. If I'm just a little overfilled, or if I'm bloated, it could send my weight up a bit. So that was the part that I was mainly worried about. But it turns out that I thought the maximum weight for me would have been 161, but it's actually 166. So I was 6 pounds under, which hooray. After that, they did your blood pressure, and they entered your height and weight into the system. I believe that's what it was. That they entered your blood pressure and your heart rate and stuff into the system to see if like you actually qualify. I believe that's what it is. I'm not 100% sure. But they did my blood pressure. My blood pressure was fine. But because of all the shouting and me kind of being nervous now, because it's just go, 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 my heart rate was a bit elevated. My heart rate was a bit elevated. So they had to take my heart rate twice. On the second time around, whenever, I did some deep breathing, my heart rate did go down. Luckily for me, there was a lot of persons who had that issue, and they did them multiple times and it wasn't able to go down. I don't know what happened to them, but it's pretty normal. It happens to the best of us. After height and weight, we went into the room to do a classroom to do another briefing. We had 2 briefing. One with the commander, I believe, where like they went over, they told you about the army laws, and like the 3 big ones were, no sexual harassment, no coming in underneath false identity. And to be honest, I don't quite remember everything, but we had the commander's brief. And then secondly, we had the medical person's brief. So the medical person's brief, to be honest, I don't remember everything that was in it. But what they did brief us on again is the fact that whenever we're going in to be examined by the doctor, we'll be in underwear. So just for men, it's just boxers. For us females, it's your underwear and your bra. And then he also warned us about the duck walk and telling us how to perform the duck walk. Because if you fail the duck walk, you can call it's done so. So after that, and then they also told you how they were going to like do their inspection on you, and if at any point you're uncomfortable, I believe they call it a chaperone, where you could have someone else in the room, and then letting you know that at no point in time should the doctor be inserting your finger into your genitalia or into your anus. So that was the main parts from the medical brief that I got. They said more, but I'm not quite remembering everything currently. Next up was, after the briefing, was that it was actually time to go see the doctor. This is where, this is the hardest part of MEPS. My recruiter told me that, and I do agree. Other than the hearing test, to be honest, the hearing test, then the actual physical medical, those are the top 2 hardest parts, because this is where they interrogate you as to, do you have any medical history? And for the slightest of things, they will disqualify you. Or you have to go get a doctor's note. Well, not even a doctor's note. They will disqualify you. I don't know what's the next process if they disqualify you, because that didn't happen to me. But I know that a lot of persons are sent back during that stage whenever they have the initial interview, where they ask you all these questions about your medical history, and also they do pull up your medical file. So if you were if you had a surgery just a couple months ago. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be a couple months ago, because they were able to see that all of what I got when I was pregnant with my baby, and my baby is 15 months old now. So she was able to tell me I had an epidural and everything that took place, like every medication that I was issued, and like any procedure that the doctor had to do with me whenever I was pregnant and had my baby. So yeah, don't lie. That's the only advice I can give to you. Don't lie, because if you lie, they're able to pull it up and they are going to ask you questions about it, because they asked me a couple questions about my medication, but I was honest and upfront with my recruiter about the medicines that I was given in the past. And also I had I think it was a waiver that I received because I had a misdiagnosis on something that could have disqualified me from joining at the time that I did. So I had the waiver, and they did, even though I had the waiver going in, they did in fact ask me again about the whole medication and why was it prescribed, and it's like, you're on trial now, you have to be sticking to your point, sticking to the facts. And I did say that, oh, my provider, I had a letter from my provider, I wrote a personal statement, and overall I was cleared by I got the waiver for that specific medication. So they did ask that. After the 21 questions, not literally 21 questions, but after the 21 questions, it was actually time for the physical. So my provider did step out of the room so that I could get undressed. She instructed me on all that I would have to do, or what she would be doing before the actual process started. So like, she told me, I'm going to come in, check your spine, how I'm going to have to like spread my cheeks so that she can look. And then after like doing the duck walk and the various balancing activities, like I had to go up, cross my fingers, pull it back, you know, to see, I guess it's to see if I have any pain doing all of this. To be honest, I'm not really sure on why they do it. That's the God honest truth, but I know that you have to pass it. I can only assume it's for pain, but because it's basic exercise, like I had to cross my hands, put it back here, do this, open and close my fingers, and basic stuff really. I had to walk back and forth without crossing my leg, because at one point I did cross my legs, so I had to do it over. So she said I have to do it without crossing my legs. Yeah, walking on my tippy toe. Yeah, I had to step up on my tippy toe, then go down to my heel, step up on my tippy toe, go down to my heel, and then I also had to walk with it. I believe it's walk on my tippy toes, and then at one point I crossed my leg while I was walking. So she said I had to do it without crossing my leg. After doing that, I had to do the duck walk. Girl, the duck walk, like I practiced a couple weeks before actually going to MEPS. Whenever you know, I YouTube a video on what the physical is actually like, because I didn't want to fail. And I saw the duck walk and I was able to do it, but I did not, because I was able to do it, I did not practice again. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not practice again. And I'm not the most physically active person, so I do my walking, but and I think also it had to do with the fact that I did not stretch, I did not warm up. But whenever I was doing the duck walk, girl, it took me a minute. It took me a minute to get to it. Luckily, my provider, she was pretty patient. The duck walk is just to make sure that you have good balance. And I was able to pass it. So after doing the duck walk, she left the room again, told me that I had to strip down completely so that she could, you know, look at down there to make sure there's nothing there, and to also make sure that I am a female. I am in fact what I say I am, you know. I am in fact what I identify as. No, it's not identify as. Whatever I was born with, basically. So she, oops. So yeah, after she looked, then she had to press on my stomach, and she also had to look under my boobs, so I had to hold my boobs up so that she was able to look and see if there is any marks of surgery or something that I'm hiding. And also I guess for tattoos too, because I do have a tattoo on my back, so I guess they have to examine your entire body too to make sure that all the tattoos that you disclose you have is actually the tattoos that you do have. After that, she pressed down on my stomach, asked if I had any pain, see if I flinched, which I didn't, and she left the room and allowed me to get dressed. She asked me if I had any questions about anything that she did. I did have one question. I wanted to know if I passed, which I did, and I was so excited because, like I said, that's the hardest part of MEPS. It is so intimidating because after doing all of this, meaning you go by the recruiting station, you're selecting jobs, you're making sure that your packet is perfect. So to come this far and then hear no, you know, it's intimidating, it's scary. So she said, yeah, I passed the physical. So I was like, yes. Then the only two things that I had left after that was to do blood work and the urine analysis. I wasn't worried about urine because I don't do drugs, and I knew I wasn't pregnant because I'm on birth control, so I wasn't worried about urine, and I wasn't worried about the blood work either. I get tested regularly, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with my blood work. So did all of that. Then afterwards you see the final doctor where she goes over your entire chart and everything, and then she was super sweet. She was super sweet, let's get that out there. Everybody there, to be honest, other than being some persons being a little bit more stern than others, they were awesome. I had a great experience there. They were super good. She told me that, hey, you passed the medical part, which that's the hardest part about this whole recruiting process, is medical and MEPS. So I was told, hey, congratulations, you passed the medical, which is the hardest part, so you're able to breathe a breath of fresh air. Next on was you go back to the Army liaison, and what was the next step? Yeah, you go back to the Army liaison, and they enter your information, and then you have to wait to speak to a guidance counselor so that you're able to sign your contract. Because currently I'm still dual military, there was a few issues with my packet, so that part of the process took a little longer than expected because I had to reach out back to my recruiting station here locally for them to upload certain documents that they did need. So that part took a little bit longer, and then also the fact that I have 2 different last names on different forms, because like you guys know, I am still currently married. So on my IDs it says Nosworthy, my maiden name, but recently I updated my social, so on my social it says Purdue, and then all of my other documents it says Nosworthy. Like every other document, literally it says Nosworthy. So that was a whole hiccup. Like they said it to me, and I'm gonna forewarn everybody else, if you're gonna change your name, just change it on everything, because that was a pain in the ass to deal with. So because I kept getting sent back. I was like, okay, listen, I got married, I'm in the process of changing my name, this is what's happening. If you look on my birth certificate, Nosworthy is the name. If you look on the marriage certificate, Purdue is the name. That's why I have 2 different names on. But that's my only advice to anyone out there who is going in and they're married. Just have all, whether you're keeping your maiden name or you're deciding to accept your spouse's name, make sure that all of your documents have whichever name you decide to go with, because it's gonna be a pain in the to get through this process. So with the back and forth, eventually it all got done where they were able to like lift the administrative hold and all of that off my form. Finally was able to, you know, go over the contract, sign for what I did, actually speak with my recruiter about. I didn't make any changes. You had the option of before signing the official contract to make any changes that you did want to make. I didn't make any changes because I already knew what I was getting into. So after that, the next process is to go get fingerprinted so you can swear in. Man, that day was I don't know, everything was just a bit for me. So for some strange reason, my fingerprints, I had to take them, like, to be honest, for each finger I had to probably do them 3 or 4 times. But I eventually did my fingerprints. Then it was the swearing in ceremony time. They have to have a certain amount of people before you can swear in, and like I was the first person, so I did have to wait a minute until enough persons came where I could go ahead and do the swearing in ceremony. As a matter of fact, I was in the last group to do the swearing in ceremony of that day, and my bus driver was already there, and everybody who I had came with was already done. I would have been done too, but like I said, because of the difference in name and being dual military, like it just took so much longer than it needed to take. So, and I was starting, to be honest, I was low-key becoming a little bit irritated because it's still my name, right? And then I was so hungry because I hadn't, the last time I ate was like from 4 or minutes to 4 in the morning at the hotel, and at this point it's like it's about to be 3 o'clock. It was minutes to 3, and I'm starting to get I'm sorry, I thought I heard something. I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. Yeah, since my pregnancy with Jackson, throughout my whole pregnancy I became hungry, angry, and it's still affecting me till this day. So I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. But whenever I told them, like, oh my God, I can't wait for this process to be over, I'm so hungry, I want to go home and eat, and I just need this day to be done, they were like, oh, there's snacks right there for you guys. Why didn't y'all have a sign saying, oh, for all applicants there's food right there? I didn't know. I'm just sitting here hungry and wanting to go home. So I was able, right before the swearing in, I was able to munch on something, and then it was finally time for the big swear in. They had enough people and it was time for the big swearing in. It was good, you know, it was good. We did the pledge. They told us that they would be recording. We did the pledge. They went over a few words that's in there, like I think a part of it says do solemnly swear, and they asked if you're okay with saying swear. Nothing crazy. It's not like any bad words, and so help me God, you know, some persons don't believe in God, so they were asking if everybody's good with God. If not, you can just, you know, omit that part, like not say that part. So we did the swearing in. There was a sense of pride because it's like you're finally in, and this process is, at least for now, it's finally over. You do the swearing in, then you go back to sign your contract one last time, but this time it's with your fingerprint, and then that's it. You're on your way home. So that's it for MEPS. I was out of there like minutes after 3. I have a few clips of, you couldn't really record in there, but I do have a few clips of like when I'm leaving the building, when I was at a hotel, that I'll insert right after this. But yeah, that was my experience at MEPS. I do hope this video is able to help persons who are going in to, you know, familiarize themselves with the whole process and what to expect. Of course, everybody's experience is going to be different, but I do hope that if you're watching this, that means that you're interested in joining the military, whichever branch, whether Marines, Navy, or the Army, or the others that they do have. I do want to say, once you get through the process, congratulations and welcome to the club. But I do want to thank you guys for watching. Until next time, bye.